You talked about betting back in the day. That was like, oh, you can't talk about that. You can't, I know they talked about some different things with Brent Musburger was calling the lines on TV when he was
right. I remember that.
When he was calling football games. But with betting now legal and partner with all the leagues, is it easier or harder to corrupt a game, let's say in 2025, than it was in 2005?
I think it's a little harder now just because they have stopgaps in place for when, an enormous amount of money gets put on a game and they move the line and it still goes in that direction.
In Terry's
I think
case,
it's a little bit harder now. It's not that, noticeable back in the day. Plus there was a lot of, underground betting going on. So I think it's probably a little bit more difficult today, but I also think that, it's, a lot more in your face today, and with the apps and the websites and, everybody's doing it type of thing. So, you can kind of distance your name from it a little bit if you really still wanted to do it. But I think it's a situation where if the same guy wins, more than he loses, and we all know how difficult it is to win at gambling, you win 57, 58% of the time, you're doing well. And in my case, we were winning 70 to 80% of the time. And I'm sure in this situation, once, those odds started to kick up, red flags are going to be out, and it was probably going to be somewhere where somebody started to look at things a little bit deeper.
Well, to your point, and I was saying this, with Terry Rozier's case, it was, $200,000 all of a sudden got put on a prop bet in March in the game that didn't count. So that just automatically sent signals, flares in the air that something was going on. So that's the protection mechanism that you're talking about. And the problem is that gambling has always been a part of sports. Go all the way back to the Black Sox, that what they were called before, throwing the World Series. So how do you get around it? And you talked about this, the bigger part of the case, but the bigger part of where gambling is going. So you kind of predicted the next big scandal would be probably in college sports. Given that, the new bus was in the NBA, what's the problem still waiting to explode in college sports? Now, we've seen, let's preface it, we've seen in college sports point shaving, in particular in basketball. We've seen it before. But what's bigger now?
I think that the possibility of a bigger scandal is coming at the college level because, you were a star. You knew you were going to go to the NBA. You knew you were going to make a lot of money. But how about that guy that's maybe the third or fourth player on a team, or is not at a real powerhouse Division I school, and one of these crime family guys goes to them and says, listen, you got 2 kids at home. You got your mother working 2 jobs. You're favored by 15 tonight. Why don't you just win by 10, 11, 12, or 13? Here's 50 grand. Let's do that 10 times this year. Let's have you leave college with 500 grand in your pocket to get you a great start in life. I think that's where the next, scandals happen. I think it's going on today. I think it's happened many times in the last couple of years. I think it's going to possibly happen in the future. And it's a situation where, these kids are going to try and take advantage of the opportunity to leave school with some money in their pocket because they're not going to be able to, go to that next level and profit.
Well, let me push back a little bit. If it was 10 years ago, I would say yes. But with NIL and players being able to make millions right now in college, in particular to set a line, let's say at under 2.5 or the over, the main guys got to participate on the court to either affect the numbers positively or negatively, right? So
but maybe you're like I said, I'm the third guy, fourth best player on the team, and maybe I'm not feeding Jimmy Jackson the ball. Maybe I'm the point guard.
But but Tim, he's getting money right now. NIL, the fourth guy may be making $400,000, $300,000. You see what I'm saying? Now with NIL, as much as we talk about NIL as a bad thing, could it be a positive thing in college sports? Because now there's less of a chance, especially for the players that really have some meat in the game that can affect the game. They're getting paid off the court.
Right. I think if you make them all paid maybe evenly, but there's also a situation where maybe, and I hate to keep using your name, and I'm not using your name because I know of anything in the past, but let's say Jimmy Jackson's out the night before a game and it's his birthday and he's doing shots and, he's not, going to be at the top of his game tomorrow. That's all that information is valuable. Or maybe he hurt his knee in practice the day before. All this information is something that at the right time and right opportunity, you can pick up the phone and pass that along to somebody, and they can make an enormous amount of money from it. So it's always there. I think really you got to educate these kids, let them know, how important it is to have that inner circle close and tight and stay away from, certain people in certain situations, because there's always that, line that you're near that you shouldn't be, that you don't want to cross. I think the warning should be out there to these kids to make sure that they stay far away from this, because, greed's a powerful thing. And sometimes, rules don't apply to people with power and money. And you always sometimes want a little bit more. So you never know. I was weak when it came to that situation, and I just wouldn't want to see one of these kids at the college level, getting involved in something like that.
Check out new episodes of The Jim Jackson Show every Thursday. Watch on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page. Follow the show on Instagram at Jim Jackson Show, or listen wherever you get your podcasts.